So this is a quick demonstration of changing a bulb brake light for a Calibra into a LED brake light for a Calibra. So once you remove the tail light itself, you've got to separate the backing simply by running down a knife down the edge of it and breaking the seal between the body, and then it pops off. There's a few clips on it that you need to be aware of, and you just simply put a knife blade or a very small straight edge screwdriver and pop it off. And once you have it off, then this would normally be sitting inside the back like so, and it's a matter of releasing it from the cover and doing that. Now, before you take it off the car, it's always a good idea just to measure the voltage. So I measured the voltage on the plug coming from the car, and I identified which socket was going to be positive and which is going to be negative. Obviously for a normal bulb that won't matter, but for an LED bulb that will matter, so we need to be very careful. So I've done one, and this is what it looks like, and I will add the resistance of the resistor to the notes, but it's a 470 ohm resistor, and that's to suit a 3.5 volt bright LED. So I'll take you through the quick steps on how to do it, and I'll do it on the other end one so we can see what we're actually doing. Okay, so get an iron and a solder sucker if you have one, or some soldering flux, whichever you prefer, and heat up the solder. And remove it from the pads on the back to simply remove the other. If your solder doesn't really want to come off, then I recommend you use a little bit of extra additional solder, and as you see, that just comes apart straight away. It's quite easy to do. Now we've got the original bulb holder that has all the corrosion problems in the brake light and the bulb, so we can discard that and put that away. So the next thing we need to do is we need to take our 470 ohm resistor and our LED and start to make the joins. So I would make sure you double check to say, okay, which is your positive rail, and make sure that you put the positive leg of the LED through that. The first thing I would say is that we have to put the voltage in, the resistor in, to reduce the voltage that is going to the LED so we don't blow it. The long leg of the LED is obviously the positive, and so it's going to be shortened, and then the negative is going to be passed through. So we'll do that now. I would measure it and make sure that you snip it once and not regret cutting it too short. I have a rough idea where it needs to be. It doesn't need to be too accurate, but the way I've done the previous one is I've done the join of the resistor to the positive leg of the diode last. So this is now the negative, so we're going to put that. I'm going to double check that just because I doubted it. Yep, we got the right one. So the long leg is always the positive. So what we'll do, we'll set this roughly to the height that we want. Now I'm putting it slightly higher because we're going to have to bend the LED over very slightly, so the top of the bulb and the top of the LED is slightly past where it needs to be. So again, just using your soldering iron, do a quick joint. You might need to maneuver it slightly, make sure you're perpendicular to the board. What we'll do now is we'll grab the resistor and do the other joint. Like so. Now we're left that we just need to do the final join of the resistor to the LED. So I'm going to just do a trim, make it slightly longer than it looks like it needs to be. And then bend it over and put it into place roughly where it needs to be to keep the bulb at the right height. And there, and that's a little bit long, so I'm going to trim it. Like so. Put these back together again. Now, what I would say is I would keep a little bit of pressure on the LED, just so that it's a good contact when we add the solder. So we'll turn it around and add that join. So trick when soldering, especially when you're so close to these kind of components, is high heat for a short period of time. So my iron's sitting at 400 degrees. I barely have to touch the solder and it melts and we're good to go. It means that there's less chance for the items that we're soldering to overheat, and less chance to do damage to the components. And I'll trim those off a little bit better, but there is the result. We might need to bend and twist a little bit on that just to straighten it up. Try not to do it too much because you'll damage the solders, but effectively that's what we're aiming to do for all of the bulbs within the unit. And because they're in parallel, the 470 on each LED drops to 12 volts to the correct voltage for the LED. So that's how we do that, and I will very quickly power up the unit. And there we have it. And the LEDs are quite bright compared to the bulbs when you're actually looking head on. Whenever they go through the reflector, it seems to work very well. And then no more blown bulbs. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.